What's up, everyone? It's Frank Klesitz with Viral Marketing. We're in for a great webinar today. We're going to go in about an hour on everything you want to know to get business from your database. Real quick, the reason we're doing these for free, you can go to our website to learn how we can help execute much of what you're going to learn today, getviral.com. And Jeff, you have an event coming up. Tell everyone about it.
Yep. So it's called the Live Unreal Summit. If you haven't heard about it, you can check it out by going to liveunrealsummit.com, Liveunreal summit.com. And it actually goes hand in hand with this topic because we're spending 3 days on three things: building a massive database, adding value to it, and getting the most out of it. So although I'm not an expert on everything, I've got a lot to share, but we also have people coming in from all over the country to share what they've done. I mean, I've scoured the country for the best of the best at not only building a database, but adding value to it and getting the most out of it. So we've got people who have been in the business for less than 2 or 3 years that are doing 40, 50 million from their database. And we also have people that have been doing it for a long time that never really did a good job with their database and have now seen some success with the last 3-5 years. So that's happening here in Orlando, Florida. I'm actually at the event space now, the Omni Orlando, and that's January 6th, 7th, and 8th. So that's coming up. We're about 3 weeks away from that. We're expecting probably 600 to 700 people from around the country for that. And from top to bottom, from keynote speakers all the way down to breakout session leaders, about 25 to 30 different panelists, interviews I'm doing on the stage. We got 3 keynotes. I just got off the phone with one of them, actually both of them this morning, John Murphy, who's an author of 11 best-selling books on the customer experience, and Bruce Himmelstein, who is famously known for developing and promoting the Ritz-Carlton experience to the public. Also, we've got Matt Sutter, who's been in the industry for years and years. So we got 3 keynotes to start us off each day: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Again, that's January 6th, 7th, and 8th. If you want to learn more, go to liveunrealsummit.com. Again, we'll probably have 600 to 750 people from around the country here for that. And it matches the theme of what we're talking about today, which is building a massive database, adding value to it, and getting the most out of it. Again, that's liveunrealsummit.com. And by the way, Frank, you should know, most conferences, 3 days long, you know, because you've been to them, nowadays they're charging $500, $600, $700, $800, $900 for conferences. $350 is the cost of ours. $350, 3 days, and that includes a party. We can't have.
And it's at the Omni, which is very expensive.
And it's at the Omni here in Orlando at Champions Gate. Easy
Nice.
to get to. I did a talk on Tuesday in North Carolina. From North Carolina, I couldn't believe this. They could still book nonstop round trip for $47. Unbelievable how cheap flights are to Orlando still.
So this is a pretty big move to double down the entire conference on the database.
Yes.
Normally,
I am about it.
Yeah. So normally you'll hear about, cold calling expireds, cold calling FSBOs, pounding circle prospecting, back, 10 years ago, online leads, go get yourself a CRM and go generate a bunch of buyer leads online. Mm-hmm. But you're really doubling down this database. And you mentioned you've been in the business for a long time. You know what an agent has to do to compete. There's no lack of, 17 years. You're doing it every single day. How many homes did you sell last year? I mean, you're the number one agent in Michigan.
This year we'll sell about 950 homes, and I'm involved in about 90 to 100 of those personally.
So you have no reason to not tell the truth here because you're doing it every day.
Oh yeah,
you double down the whole conference on this, dude.
Correct. You are not going to hear something that I read in a book or something I did 10 years ago. You're going to hear what we're doing right now, and we'll get into it a little bit. But we had a serious challenge in our business. Our business was growing and our profits were shrinking, and that's because I ignored this sector of the business. And so,
well, let's talk about that. You have these 7 things, these 7 concerns, these 7 shifts, 7. What'd you say? 7 what?
7 challenges. So basically, what I see taking place in real estate, not just in our business, but in real estate across the country, there's 7 instances or situations, if you will, taking place that are driving a wedge between us and our database. And so I'll start with let me actually back up by saying, you've probably heard, Frank, for years and years, there used to be this thing called the golden rule. Remember, it was like the golden 10% rule, meaning if you had 100 people in your database,
10 deals.
10 deals, right? If you have 1,000, you should do 100. Well, I am saying with a lot of confidence and some slight disappointment, although we have some solutions we're going to get to, that I believe that that rule is being challenged, so much so that I think there's going to be a new rule, and it could be called the 7% rule or the 8% rule. And there's 7 reasons why that's happening. All right. So reason number 1, of course, is technology. And if technology continues to improve, which we all believe it will, then we know that it's going to be easier for consumers to get online or to get on their app and take care of business versus reaching out to us. So if you've been in this business for any time, we've all gotten the call that said, you know, I don't know, I was just clicking around, and then next thing you know, I got calls from agents, and an agent came out and met with me, and, you know, they gave me a deep discount, and I didn't want to ask you to discount your services because I know you're good at what you do, and I just signed with them, and it happened so fast, right? We've been in this business for a while. We've had that call. And as technology improves, I actually believe that those calls will increase. That type of call will increase because it's easier for the consumer to do things without reaching out to us, right? They almost feel like it's a bother to reach out to us when they can get it, you know, right on their phone, right on their fingertips. So that's reason number 1 why I believe the 10%, that golden rule, is being challenged. Do you have any thoughts on that, Frank, or anything you want to add to that?
That's a titanic shift. I mean, when you said you're following up on someone you have a relationship with, I've heard that before. You know, you're really expensive, or not expensive, but you're really good at what you do. I just needed a quick home sale.
Yeah.
I was clicking around online. I opted into this and I opted into this. Next thing you know, I got all these phone calls, and someone was really strong on the phone. I was uncertain. They ended up in my house. Next thing I don't know, it's sold. And that is exactly that what happens.
Yep. So as technology
Yeah.
continues to improve, which I think we can agree it's going to, the amount of business that we get from our database is going to decline, plain and simple. The second challenge or phenomenon, if you will, taking place is this whole iBuyer stuff. You know, it's starting to spread, and it's spreading like wildfire. I mean, you have real estate companies, real estate teams coming out and creating their own iBuyer platforms and their own iBuyer programs. And, you know, as you're seeing in many cities, I mean, they're buying these homes for 90% of value, 91, 92% of value. Well, if you're averaging the seller 98% and you're charging 5, 6, 7%, why would they go through you? So let's just say you have a good relationship with someone in your database. Well, and you would argue, well, they're going to go through me because we have a good relationship and I can get them top dollar and I can get them into multiple offer situations. Okay, fair. That's fair. Now, what happens when they're surfing around online because they're looking at homes for sale and they just happen to be perusing Zillow, like most do, by the way. They go online to look for where they're going to move first before they considering selling, right? Most agents should understand that. They start the buying process first. That's why if you look at any study, it shows that they started their home search before they started getting their home ready for sale. They need to know where they're going. So consumers that are now going online to look for homes like normal, like we've seen over the last 7-10 years, now see a little ad on the right-hand side that says instant offer for your home. Oh my gosh, they find a property on Zillow that they absolutely love. Multiple offer, highest and best due by noon in 3 days. That obviously forces them to move fast because they see a house that they love. And on the right-hand side, they see an ad. Zillow will buy your home if you buy this house. Do you think there's a chance that just out of curiosity, they might click on that and see what they can get for their home instantly? Because they don't want to bother you. They're not ready to do anything yet. They're just looking at for the first time at Zillow on homes online. And next thing you know, a day or two later, they got somebody sitting on their kitchen table giving them a ready, willing, and able offer. And it's more than they thought that they could get, so they accept it. And then you get the call saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe how this worked. You know, trust me when I tell you, agents I'm sure have gotten these calls. You know, you got to get on this stuff. You got to maybe be an agent for one of these companies because this is amazing. I was just shopping at homes. Next thing you know, I've got an instant offer. So challenge number 2 is as iBuyers continue to expand, and they are, I believe that's going to chip away at those calls or those emails or those responses that we would normally have from someone in our database who wants to know what their home is worth. Can you give me an idea what my home is worth? No, just out of curiosity, they're going to do that. And if it never makes sense, they're going to go with it.
This is incredibly insightful.
You're seeing it. You're seeing it take place, right? So that's number 3. The do-it-yourselfers are actually increasing. If you take a look at any of the research on the DIY, you know, do it yourself, mostly with home improvement. But as the millennials become more and more savvy, which we'll talk about that in a second, you're starting to see this whole thing come back. and this whole idea of do it yourself. Hey, I can do this on my own. I can do it through a phone. I can do it through the internet. I mean, just look at forsalebyowner.com, right? Look at Make Me Move. Look at YouTube videos. You could Google search YouTube, how do I sell my home on my own? So because they can access that information much more easily thanks to technology, the do-it-yourselfers are coming out of the woodwork and saying, you know what, let's give this a try on our own. Let's see if we can get this done on our own. Again, thus, if you have one of those people in your database, they bought a house from you 5 years from now, and now there's a video on how they can sell by owner. 5 years ago, there wasn't a Make Me Move 5 years ago. Now they can do this on their own. Well, next thing you know, one less call from the database, Frank. Concern number 4 I have is millennials, actually. And the reason why I say millennials is because what's happening is millennials are used to being glued to their phone. Millennials are used to doing things through apps, right? They never had to call a cab service. They don't have to even go through the drive-through anymore. They can order food from their phones. And I know obviously more than millennials take advantage of that stuff. But the reason why I bring up the millennials is because there's so much whatever going around about how, you know, so many millennials live in their parents' basement and it doesn't matter. They're not my potential client anyways. Watch this. Millennials make up the largest generation of home buyers. In 2018, 37% of all homes purchased were purchased by millennials. 37%. The largest generation of home buyers was millennials. So this whole idea that they're all living in their parents' basements is just hogwash. That's not actually the case. They make up the largest portion. So guess what? They make up the largest portion. They're used to doing things from their phone and not getting into a relationship and having conversations with people and having somebody hold their hand. So what happens when an app comes out that does everything for them? I mean, maybe 1 or 2 of them will try it. Why wouldn't they? They're used to it. 1 or 2 less calls from someone in your database. You're seeing that, right, Frank?
Oh yes. I'll have to tell you, we were running some Facebook ads driving to a landing page.
Yep.
Lots of interaction, lots of clicking, but
Yep.
no opt-ins on the landing page. It's driving us nuts. We switched the ad to messages, and the conversions went way up because
Really?
the comfortability of messaging on Facebook.
Yep.
But one change.
It's amazing how that works.
Yeah,
Okay.
that one change.
Next challenge I have, all right, online reviews. Okay, many consumers today, they're using sites like HomeLight and Angie's List to check out the reviews of an agent that they were usually comfortable using in the past. Well, now let's see if our agent's still in the business and selling homes. Let's Google him. Let's see, Jeff Glover reviews. Let's see what people are saying about him. Next thing you know, they see some things that they didn't necessarily know. Now, hopefully you have great online reviews, but regardless, what happens is during that process, Frank, they fill out a form. Find the best local agents in your town. I'm using HomeLight, for instance. The next thing you know, their phone is blowing up with phone calls and text messages and emails with the best neighborhood realtors. Well, now guess what? Maybe you'll still get a call from that client from your database, but unlike the past when you had no competition, agents used to say all the time, the best thing about database business is there's no competition because you've helped them before and you're going to help them again and they call you and you don't have to compete. Talk to any high producing agent, they'll tell you, I've had more competition in the last year or 2 from clients in my database than I've had in the last 5 years. Why is that? Because there's so many distractions and things coming at the consumer when they finally say they're going to be selling their home, right? They tell people at work, they tell their family, they tell their friends, oh, you got to use my agent Bob. Oh, you got to check out this online review site. Oh, you got to check out Angie's List, right? They have all these different options to see who would really be best for them. And you know what? They're going to give you the loyalty because you've been adding value to them. So they're going to give you a call and say, hey, Jeff, let's say they've bought or sold 3-5 homes from you in the last 10 years, 20 years, whatever. Hey, Jeff, we want to give you an interview for our listing. Now, keep in mind, we're interviewing a couple other agents too, but we owe it to you. 5 years ago, that didn't happen. 5 years ago, it was like, hey, Jeff, you've been so great. We're going to go with you. Now there's so many distractions or AKA disruptions, giving them suggestions of what they should do in addition to going with their previous agent. And I believe the online review sites are crucial for now, on one hand, it's, again, taking away a call or 2 or maybe making it more competitive. But on the other hand, you have an opportunity to compete there, which we'll talk about in a second.
Number 6.
Number 6, the customer experience. So watch this. I've been doing a lot of research on this, and as we head into the new decade, there's something we need to know about today's customer. Their expectations of a great experience are higher today than they've ever been. So before, you've probably heard this before, just get their home sold quickly or find them a home quickly. That's the best customer service you can offer. No, no, no. Consumers today don't even, customer service is what you get paid for meeting their expectation. Okay, that is, customer service is what you get paid for meeting their expectation. The customer experience is what you do above and beyond their expectation that you don't get paid for. Now, you don't get paid for up front, but you get paid for it later, right? So when I look back, we had a challenge in our business, and we were around 650 transactions, and maybe the year before we were doing 500 transactions. The problem is our business was growing, Frank, but our profits were shrinking. Why is that? Well, I didn't know the answer to it. So I brought in a consultant from outside the industry, and I wanted her to peel the layers off the onion. And what she discovered was that we were a very transactional company, meaning our focus was on driving leads, driving sales, making our agents the most successful, becoming number one in the state of Michigan. That was our focus. There was no focus on customer experience. And it was at that moment where I learned that the customer experience is what's necessary, because that's not what they pay us for. What they pay us for is customer service. That's what they expect. The customer experience is above and beyond what they expect and what they pay us for. But we get paid later on that. We get paid through repeat and referral business later. So the customer service, and by the way, that's one of the big reasons why we put together for the theme of our summit. It's one thing to have a great customer experience, and we're going to talk about how to create one, but it's another thing to promote it. Then you have to be able to promote that customer experience. So that's challenge number 6. If agents aren't modifying or upping their customer experience game, they're going to lose. Finally, challenge number 7, and you've heard a lot about this lately, is the FTC and the do not call laws. They're actually starting to crack down on real estate brokerages and real estate teams. So for even agents who have worked their database in the past, they send them mass text messages or mass phone calls.
Nope, not anymore. Good luck with that. It's
Yep.
actually the TCPA laws, the Telephone Consumer Protection Act.
Yep, the TCPA laws, exactly. I watched your video on it a couple weeks back. It was a great video. That alone, forget the other 6. That alone is something that's going to impact the amount of business you do from your database. So moral of the story, if you don't change a thing, if you continue doing the same thing that you've always done towards your database, or maybe you haven't done anything at all, then the amount of business you get from your database is going to decline in 2020 and years to come. So hence the reason the themes are.
Those are incredibly insightful tips.
Yeah, we could go on. I mean, we could go on for an hour on every.
Well, you can go on for 3 days. What you're going to do?
Yep. Yes. Thank you. That's what we're going to do in Orlando. We're on Real Summit. Okay. So here's some solutions. All right. So I obviously look at these things in our business and I say, okay, our business was growing, but our profits were shrinking. What can we do to reverse that? And a couple things that we can look at when we talk about, all right, Jeff, I understand your point of the 10% rule may now become the 7% rule. All right. Hopefully by now you believe that. You need to buy into that, because if you're not buying into that, then you're going to get lost behind. So let's just pretend everyone on the webinar buys into that thought process. So then that means there's only really 3 ways we can do the same amount of business from our database or increase it. Are you ready, Frank?
I'm ready.
Very simple. And we'll get into some of the details. You can either A, play the numbers game and add more people to the database, which, think about how you can add more people to the database. I mean, for us, we used to have we do a 7:30 call every morning with our team. It's called the accountability call. It happens every morning. And we ask for 4 things. We call those the core 4. How many contacts did you make the previous day? How many appointments did you set? How many appointments did you go on? And how many contracts did you sign? Those were the core 4. We're adding a 5th in 2020. Ready? How many people did you add to the database? Because if you want to increase the amount of business that you get from a database, knowing that the 10% rule is dropping, then you can play the numbers game and not change your value at all and just increase the size of the database. So if 10% becomes the 8% rule, but you double the size of the database, you're actually going to be doing okay, right? So at the bottom, so we created it's called the Live Unreal Planner. And at the bottom of each page, so our agents carry this around. At the bottom of each page, it has a box, and it has the core four. How many people did you talk to? How many appointments did you set? How many appointments did you go on? How many contracts did you sign? And it has that fifth one as well added to the database. Think about it. You have, if you're in the industry, you have 10, 12, 15, maybe 20 conversations if you're doing your job every single day. At least one of those conversations is going to turn into a future client or a future referral later if you treat them right. So look at, let's just say 10. Let's say you have 10 conversations a day. All right, so I'm going to take one of those conversations. I'm going to take their name, their phone number, and their email. I had a good conversation. Maybe they wanted more information from me. Maybe they wanted a CMA, and I'm going to add them to our database. Do that one time per day, 5 days a week. Guess how many you'll have added at the end of the year? Even if you flake off a couple days, 250 to 300 a year. So let's just say you flake off a few days, you take a bunch of vacations, you add 250 times 4 years, that's 1,000 people in your database. So you can either A, add more people to it, all right? And if you want, by the way, I mentioned the planner. If you want to check out our planner, I know a lot of people are looking for planners this time of year. Just go to gloveru.com/shop. It's in there. It's $39. It's built by agents for real estate agents. But anyways, just make sure you make it part of your daily routine. That's the point. So you can either A, add more people to it. You can B, keep the database size the same and just add more value to it. Meaning instead of talking to them twice a year, you talk to them 4 times a year. Instead of doing one client event, you do 3 client events, right? You can, instead of sending them 2 mailings a year, you send them 8 mailings a year. You can add value to the current group and it'll help keep your percentage up at the same or going up. Or you can do what we're going to do in 2020, and that's C, which is both A and B combined. And that's building it and adding value to it, right? So that is the database formula. Now, digging deeper into that, unless you have any questions or thoughts or you want to discuss that a little further.
Oh man, you're preaching to the choir here. 10 years of teaching that message.
Yeah, which by the way, if and I know you've known me for a long time, Frank, and people come up to me at these half-day sessions and stuff that I'm doing, and they're saying, Jeff, normally all you talk about is scripts and dialogues and accountability and prospecting and for sale by owners and expireds and advertising. Where did all this database come from? Well, here's where it came from. Our business was growing and our profits were shrinking. Plain and simple. I had to do something about it. So I mentioned we hired a consultant to come in and look at our business. And that consultant essentially identified 2 things. Number one, she said, as I mentioned, we had a very transactional business. It was very much listing sales, everyone make money, everyone have a good time. There was nothing really about the customer. And by the way, we didn't have a mission statement. We might have, but it was probably just copied and pasted from a competitor's website like everybody else does, right? We had a very general mission statement. And so what we decided to do based on her recommendation is to get the group together and to find out what's important to them about our business and how it relates to the customer. And so we developed the mission statement and we came up with a word, which you see we use a lot. It's called unreal, right? Pretty much we put that everywhere. We came up with this word, which we didn't come up with the word. I'm not claiming that. we came up with the definition though, because there wasn't one. We couldn't find that. And that is something that's so amazing, it's almost unbelievable. Something so amazing, it's almost unbelievable. So this consultant said to us, Jeff, you guys don't have a mission, number one, and number two, you don't have this mantra or this motto that includes the customer. Customer experience is like an afterthought in your business. She said, so you need to involve your associates in creating a mission, A, and B, that mission better include the customer. So the mission that our associates came up with, Frank, was living an unreal experience to deliver one. Living an unreal experience to deliver one. And what that means is if we can live an unreal experience on this earth with our family, with our friends, with our coworkers, with our kids, with our associates, with anyone we come in contact with, if we can have an unreal physical life, then that will show up in the business and the customer experience, right? If you're happier, you'll have a bigger smile. If you're living an unreal life, you'll have a better attitude. If things are unreal for you, you're going to have more enthusiasm. So our mission, living an unreal experience, is the first part. To deliver one is the second part. And to deliver one is when the consultant gave us the advice of it has to include the customer, that is including the customer. To deliver one, to deliver that experience to the customer. So that took us a couple of years, and it's been now 3 years since we've been operating under that mission. And everything we do we question, well, is that really an unreal experience for the client? And we look at the client, by the way, we have two clients. One client is our agents and the other client is the customers. Was that really an unreal experience for our agents? You know, our conferences, our events we put on, was that experience truly unreal compared to other conferences we've been to? I mean, that is just part of the fabric of what we do every day. And therefore it comes through in the customer experience. Does that make sense, Frank?
Makes a lot of sense. And then since you put this in place 3 years ago, what's happened?
Database business was our number one or our number 5 source of business 3 years ago. Today it's number 1. Database business at 650 transactions. Ready for this? At 650 transactions, less than 100 from the database 4 years ago. Today, we do 1,000 transactions. Over 400 are from the database. Database is now our number 1 source of business because we did 2 things. So we created a mission that includes a customer, which I just explained, and we also created a database value proposition. And so for the last 3 years, 2017, 2018, 2019, we've been following what we call our database value proposition. I can share it with you if we have time.
Yeah, do it.
Okay.
But here's the deal. Jeff, that's incredible.
The business, well, and by the way, our profits are starting to go back up now, which, you know, forget about everything else. You can't be in business if you can't make a profit. I mean, it got really lean and mean for a couple of years there. Why? Because I was so focused on building this massive business through prospecting and having ISAs and advertising and buying leads and putting up billboards and becoming number 1. We were so focused on that. We lost sight of what it means to be in business, which is creating profits so you can go and invest that in somebody else and something else, or you can go invest that in someone else, or you can go and give that back to the community. We lost sight of that, and we needed to create a mission around it.
Let me just simplify this down a little bit, because that is a huge idea that we have to wrap our heads around, which you're going to have 3 days to help people with. So this is like the opening talk of your 3 days. Is what I'm getting.
Oh, I'm sharing this. I'm going to get.
Yeah, I'm not getting the opening keynote here.
Yeah. Why we picked this? Why we picked this theme? Why?
Oh, yeah.
Because you'll go broke. Honestly, if you get caught up in spending money on Zillow and spending money on billboards and doing the rat race of looking good on Facebook, you're going to go broke. And that's what felt like we needed to pick a theme. And by the way, selfishly, because I've seen the difference in our business, selfishly, I'm going to learn just as much as everyone else is going to learn. Yeah, I have a lot of great things to share, but we've brought in people who have done even better than I have done that are going to be taking the stage.
So we have the experience. We'll leave that for your event of what you do when you actually get the customer, right? Let's take the next 30 minutes of someone's watching us and going, oh, you're right. It's like a religious shift, a spiritual shift of how you focus to how you treat your business after coming up maybe a certain way of looking at things. Now this requires an entire different behavior and psychology to how you approach things, right?
Yep.
So why don't we go into a little bit of like, hey, Jeff, I haven't sent a darn thing out ever to my database. I don't even know what it is or where it's at because everything I do is 100% cold. Let's talk to that person.
Yep. So you need to create a basic database value proposition, which we did. And by the way, it starts with, every year when we send out, not every year, but every time we send out a mailing to our database, I get frustrated because I'm reminded of how much energy we did not put into the database. And the reason why I say this is because I've been doing this 17 years. You know, for the last 3 years, our team has sold over 900 homes a year. A couple of years we went over 1,000. And when I look back at the size of our database, Frank, we have now I say only, it's still going to sound like a lot, but if you look at the last 17 years, how many real estate transactions my team and I have been involved in, I mean, it should be 10,000 people on our database. We have 6,000 people on our database, Frank.
Define who the 6,000 are, just past clients?
Yeah, past client, sphere of influence, and current clients. Past clients,
okay.
Current clients. Yep. So
when I hear databases, I have 20,000, 30 unconverted buyer leads.
Yeah, no. That's not what
so you think 6,000 seems small to some people I talk to, given all the emails they've compiled over the years.
Yep, that's right.
Okay, so Jeff Glover, who sells 1,000 homes, only has 6,000.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep, that's right. Now, what's interesting is that number should be 10,000, but we didn't even keep a database. So watch this. I've been doing this since '03. When they do the mailings, I say, how many did we send out? They say, 6,347. Okay. And I ask the question, what happened to the other 3 or 4,000? And this is the response. Well, Jeff, you didn't keep records of any transactions until 2014. Did you hear
How
that?
much, how much is a dagger?
Right?
Yeah.
You didn't keep records of anything until 2000. Now, maybe it was 13 or 14.
Jeff, I hear it every day.
Unbelievable. I'm
20,
like,
30 years in the
oh my God,
business.
where am I? So where do we start? I said, we got to go back through all those old files. Where are they? Nobody has them, right? Because people switch companies, whatever, they get lost.
Mm-hmm.
We went back and dug up as much as we can, and we started with, for someone who doesn't who's in my same boat, or maybe not a database at all, we dug. I mean, we searched public records. We did everything we can to try to put together this foundation of a database, and we started with an Excel spreadsheet. And still to this day, I mean, we do use Sync as our CRM, but really our database is still Excel, because you can do a lot with Excel. And we implemented a formula. So step one is obviously putting it together, but step two is you got to have a database formula that adds value. So I'll share that now. So we call our formula, there's no rocket science to this. This isn't like, something that you've never heard before, but when you do these things combined in this way, we believe it works. And that's why database is now our number one source, over 400 transactions today, when 3 years ago it was less than 100. So we call it the 4 by 2 by 1 by 12 formula. The 4 by 2 by 1 by 12. And the 4 stands for 4 pieces of U.S. mail, good old fashioned U.S. mail. And I'll share with you what those are. And it's not quarterly.
You know, I
things.
love mail, Jeff. I'm a mail guy. I really no, I really am though. We do viral marketing, but direct mail is a piece of our system. So keep going.
Yep. 4 pieces of U.S. mail. So the first piece of mail that goes out is called a year in review letter. And it's basically a letter explaining 3 things. What happened in the market last year, what happened in our business, how we did as a team, if we opened up in another city or if we added a few agents or whatever, and then how we gave back in the community. Those are like our 3 focuses. What happened in the market, what happened with our business, and how we gave back in the community. That letter goes out every January. It's called the year in review letter. The second piece of mail goes out in March, and that's an invite to our client appreciation party, which I'll talk about what that is in a second. And by the way, I mean, I wouldn't even, years ago, if you were to ask me, Jeff, did you just say client appreciation party? Yeah, I just did. I would sit in conferences and hear people talk about their client appreciation parties. And I'd think, I don't need that. I'll just prospect more expireds. I'll just put up more billboards. I'll just spend more money on advertising. I'll just buy more leads. I didn't think I'd remember half my clients' names, let alone I didn't want them talking to each other, right, at the same place. So I was like anti-client events. By the way, now we swear by them. So our second piece of mail is an invite to our client event that goes out in March. And I'll talk about the client event in a second. The third piece of mail is a so far this year letter. It's called the so far this year letter. And it's basically everything it's kind of like the January letter, but it's just so far the first 6 months of the year versus a year in review. Got it?
Yep.
And then the fourth piece of mail is a holiday greeting card with one of those stupid fridge magnet calendars. And I say stupid, silly, whatever, because they've been around for decades and they're still effective. Why are they effective? Well, what I challenge the group that's listening or watching to do, go on your next 10 showings, do a survey. When the buyer's in the master bedroom or somewhere else in the house, just go into the kitchen and just kind of check out the refrigerator. You're gonna find, at least out of 10 homes, 7 that have a realtor magnet refrigerator with one of those tear-off calendars, or the realtor magnet, for the refrigerator with the tear-off calendar. So we send those out, and our goal is to have those out by December the 1st, because the only calendar that makes it on the fridge, Frank, is the first one they receive. So you can't have this sending them out December the 15th. It's not like Mary goes on the fridge December the 5th. Bob comes along with a nice little greeting card on December 20th. Oh, Bob, he got a new photo. Bob's looking good this year. Let's put Bob up instead. They're not going to take Mary down to put Bob up, right? They are putting the first one that they receive up there, and that's the only one that stays up there. So what we do, we have a thing called database days, and it's the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday before Thanksgiving. For those 3 days, we are doing 2 things. We're doing mailings, holiday greeting card mailings, and we're making phone calls, which I'll tell you about the phone calls in a second. So the fourth piece of mail is the holiday card with a fridge magnet calendar that has to be out by December the 1st.
Got it.
That's the 4 pieces of mail. The 2 stands for 2 phone calls where we don't ask for business. Remember, this is all about providing value. Providing value will get you business in return. So we have 2 calls where we don't ask for business. Instead, what we do.
Jeff, I have to say, what would Mike say about that?
Oh man, I've learned a lot from Mike, and even every half-day session, I'm still giving him credit for a lot. So, but hey, you know what? There's techniques that were strong in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, and there's techniques that are strong now. So,
let's have to bring that up.
Where we don't.
Keep going.
Okay, 2 phone calls where we don't ask for business. The first phone call is an invite to our client appreciation party. So the mailing goes out like say March 1st, and the phone calls are done March 15th.
Yeah.
That's the first phone call. The second phone call is what we call a holiday greeting message. And this is a live phone call. Now, I know some people take this and just do the voice broadcast and whatever, and hey, do what you got to do. But this is a call. So the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday before Thanksgiving, we have what's called database days in our company. And that is where all of our associates for the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday accomplish 2 things. They call everyone in their database, and they get their holiday mailers out with their fridge magnet calendar. The script they use is very simple. It's a very soft, warm script. Hi, this is your realtor, Jeff Glover. I just wanted to call and wish you and your family a happy Thanksgiving, and more importantly, thank you for your business and your continued referrals. If there's anything I can do for you or anyone you know, I hope you'll keep me in mind. Very soft, very warm, and you get, oh my God, that's so nice of you, Jeff. You didn't have to call, blah, blah, blah. Now, for some of you who are saying, well, I missed the boat on that. Well, make it a holiday call. Call on the 23rd. Call on the 24th. Hey, this is your realtor, Jeff Glover. I just wanted to wish you and your family a happy holiday and a prosperous new year. Okay, fine. Well, I'm busy on the 23rd, 24th. Good. Do this call on the 27th, 28th, 29th. Call them and wish them a happy new year. And more importantly, thank you for your business and your continued referrals, even if they're not sending you referrals. Thank you for your business and your continued referrals. You're planting the seed. If there's anything I can do for you or anyone you know, I hope you'll keep me in mind. Now, why do I make this call around Thanksgiving or around the holidays? There isn't another 30-day span in the year where they're going to see more friends and family than they are between Thanksgiving and the end of the year. So we're making those calls the week of Thanksgiving, so that way I'm top of mind when they see their family and friends. And listen, so people would say, yeah, but people aren't thinking about listing or selling during the holidays. Fine, they might not be listing or selling during the holidays, but guess what? The conversation of real estate is going to come up. Someone's going to say, oh, we tried to buy a home this year, we couldn't get our offer accepted. We tried to sell, we couldn't sell. We're having a baby, we need a new home. We got engaged, we need a new home, right? We're downsizing, we need a new home. These conversations happen around the Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever Hanukkah holiday table that you're celebrating at. And I want to be top of mind when that happens. So those are the 2 calls. The 1 stands for one client event. And I put a little asterisk by it in my notes because we do one big event as a team, and then all of our agents are now doing events on their own in addition to what we do. So as a team, we do a Detroit Tigers opening day. Obviously, baseball is a big deal in Detroit, at least when they're good. Even when they're not good, it's a big deal in Detroit because it's kind of like spring is here and everyone comes out. So we pick that event for watch this reason. And this is very important for those that are considering doing client events or are doing client events and not being mindful of when they do them. There's 2 times of the year where a client event makes the most sense. Approximately 60 to 75 days before your busiest listing month of the year. So every market has their biggest listing month. In Detroit, it's June. Most markets, it's somewhere between April and June. Take your biggest listing month of the year, and I want you to do your event about 60 days prior to that. Why is that? Because I don't want you to be top of mind when they're already in the process of meeting with agents or already have their home for sale. I want you to be top of mind when that process starts about 60 days prior. Well, yeah, but I only get a few listings from my database. Well, I'm not talking about the people that come to your event are going to be listing their home from you. That's you're going to have some of that, but they're involved in conversations 60 days prior with people at work who are saying, we're going to be listing our home for sale. We're going to be doing this. We're going to be doing that. So I want to have the event 60 to 75 days prior to the biggest listing month of the year. That's if you're only going to do one. If you're going to do a second, or let's say you don't like that idea or you don't agree with that idea, if you're going to do a second, you do it during the holidays. Again, going back to the concept of the calls, because they're seeing and they're around so many people this time of year. So I'm going to be top of mind. Photos with Santa, whatever. Now here's another tip on events. You want a fast way to grow your database and create loyalty? Next time you do an event, let your clients invite a guest. Let them invite another family. Let them invite another couple, right? For our opening day event, Detroit Tigers opening day, for the last 3 years, because we've only been doing this stuff. By the way, I'm not an expert on this. That's why I have people flying in from all over the country to take the stage and tell us what they're doing. But we have gone from 100 deals to 400 deals in 3 years from the database. So when we do our client event next year, instead of sending them 2 tickets to our party, we're going to send them 4. Why is that? Well, because I want these 2 to invite another 2 so I can add them to my database, and chances are they know, like, and trust the person that they're bringing, and this person that was invited was in my database. They know, like, and trust me. The law of reciprocation says I'm going to get future business from them. And now I can start inviting them to events, and now I can double the size of my database. And this isn't doubling the size of my internet lead database. This is doubling the size of my sphere of influence and past client database, which is a big deal.
What's 12?
12 is 12 infotaining emails, information that's entertaining. Stop sending out emails about, reminding me to set my clocks back. Number one, my clocks do that automatically. All right. Like, I don't need that. So it's not informational, and it's certainly not entertaining, because I got enough reminders to do that. Right. And you can tell when, obviously for the real estate agents that are watching this, we're in a lot of lender databases, and you can tell when they're using the same CRM, because I'll get the same email 3 times in a row from 3 different lenders. It has to be informational and entertaining. Okay, I want to know the 12 best pools in Pittsburgh. I want to know the 13 worst landscaping jobs in San Diego. I want to know the ugliest house ever sold on the beach. I want to know the highest sales price ever in the county. I want like clickbait. You know what I mean? Things that like cause me, if you see something like the 9 worst nose jobs, that might be interesting to you. You might click on that and check that thing out. Think along those lines. Stuff that's informational and entertaining, that'll cause people to open them and actually look forward to them. Infotaining emails, that's 1 time per month. And get personal with it, right? When you give back in the community, when stuff happens in your community, you don't have to personalize each one per client, but get personal with, your business, right, in your town. That's our database formula, Frank. We implemented that formula. This is now the 3rd year using this formula, from 100 to 400 transactions.
You had to align resources away from something that was giving you certainty for a long time and put resources into this that you knew you had to go, but it was a little uncertain for you.
Yep.
Can you tell me about that shift of moving the freight train in this direction?
Yeah, 2 things. So for us, it was pretty easy, because one of those resources was advertising. We got up to spending about $1.5 million a year on advertising, Frank. I don't know if you knew that or not. Between billboards and radio and TV, we dominated the Detroit market when it came to advertising. Every TV station, we were all over the place. And the great thing was, our business was booming, our business was growing, our agents were making money. The problem is the company wasn't making money, and it wasn't sustainable. So we took some of the resources from that. We, of course, reduced our spending and took some of the resources from that we saved and put it into this formula.
So you're mailing about 6,000 people a quarter?
That's right.
Good stuff, man.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, this is really good and very insightful.
And yeah, like you said, obviously when we get together in, January 6th through the 8th here at the Omni in Orlando, we're going to dig deep into, okay, how we arrived at that formula, what the stuff is that we're actually sending out, why it's impactful. and also the customer experience piece. I never put any energy into that. And quite frankly, I don't even think we have it mastered. So we're bringing in people, keynotes that can speak on stuff like this that have mastered it. Like the Ritz-Carlton guy. I mean, the guy created the Ritz-Carlton experience. Like, I don't think there's anyone else that is more qualified than that guy to speak about customer experience, right?
So an agent is going to have to set aside some money to put a database marketing plan in place. You already had that ability to spend money on advertising and pull it.
Yep.
For somebody that has been told to never ever spend money on anything,
Yep.
how does someone compete when they're in the mindset, I don't spend money on my business?
Great. I love it. So wow, go back to the formula. 4 pieces of mail. By the way, if somebody's at that mindset, they probably only have a database of a few hundred, maybe
Yeah.
500. Okay. So 4 pieces of mail times 200 people, not very expensive. Okay. We're talking 1-page letters, right?
Yeah.
2 phone calls. That doesn't cost anything but time. Okay. 1 event. Now we ran out a ballroom for Detroit Tigers opening day. By the way, that's a $25,000 party. Okay. Well, you could do happy hour for 2 hours at your local restaurant. You know what I mean? Like you can rent out a bowling alley. You know how cheap bowling is nowadays, and or movie theater stuff. Some of our agents are renting out a movie theater and inviting all their clients to that. They're spending less than $1,000 on these events. Less than $1,000. So that's inexpensive. And then infotaining emails, that just takes legwork. You just got to go out in the community and find cool stories to write about, and then use Canva or one of the other softwares to craft a good looking email.
Yep.
So that I honestly believe the 4x2 by 1x12 could be done on less than $5,000 a year.
Good. What trends do you see happening even more over the next 5 years for a real estate agent? You gave me some really good insights, those 7, Jeff. Let me end the interview with this.
Yep.
When you forecast of knowing what's going to happen in real estate, there's lots of unknowns of lots of competition, lots of money coming in, right?
Yeah.
Give me your prediction for the future. What's the future of the agent look like? I think you've already answered this, but maybe a different way of approaching it and summing up the interview today. Tell me about the future of real estate.
I think that the real estate business becomes a little bit less sexy of a business to get into. I think we probably go from 1 million realtors in the U.S. to probably less than 500,000. I believe that those 500,000 will be highly skilled. They'll have great sales skills. They'll have great technology skills. They'll understand technology, and they'll actually do a lot more business. I think the transaction itself will get easier. I think commissions will get squeezed. I think the days of 5.5%, 6.5% are numbered. So you'll have more agents you'll have less agents doing more business, easier to do the business, less income per transaction. They'll still end up netting the same or more money as it goes on. So my question would be, what are you going to do to be one of those 500,000 that actually end up surviving and thriving in the next 10 years?
Got it. So I think that probably the biggest thing for somebody watching, if there was an action step, is to round up all your past clients, round up your sphere, find the contact information, and do the work. I mean, that had been the most painful part of the whole process of getting the list together in Excel to start with. I mean, that had been terrible. I mean, it's usually pretty hard to do.
Well, yeah, and I'm an immediate return kind of guy, and I know probably half the industry is, or half the people on this webinar. If I make a call, I know if I call 10 expires right now, I'm going to get 1 to set an appointment with me. If I call 10 people in my database, I'm not going to get an appointment out of 10. It might take me to get an appointment. It's a slower play, and I never like the slow play. I like the fast. Wham, bam, go in, get the appointment, get out of there, get a contract signed, or move on. And that's a whole different shift in the mindset that I had to go through. And I was forced to go through it because our business was growing and our profits were shrinking.
Cool. Jeff, where do people go again to go check out your event?
Sure. It's liveunrealsummit.com. So there we go.
Nice.
Liveunrealsummit.com. LIVEUNREAL, the word summit.com. And you can find all of our scripts and tons of videos at gloveru.com as well.
Cool. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. You can go check out a whole bunch of examples of if you want to start using video and doing some of the messaging and even some of the direct mail that Jeff is talking about. We execute that here at Viral. That's why we're doing this together. go check out getviral.com. You can download our official video marketing plan on the homepage of the website, as well as request a free strategy call. And we give you a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you get a feel of like what it's like to work with us. If, when you make a hire, do you really like working with these guys? That's a part of our program. Go check out Jeff's event. He knows what he's talking about. Jeff, thanks so much for your time today.
You guys will be there. You're
Yeah,
going to have.
that's right. Yep, and Viral Marketing will be there. Come say hi. We'll be at the event.